We're seeing this now as the coronavirus is, we've been around here about 10 months, I guess, and you had all these restrictions from local governments and state governments, and you had some churches. Now, again, in the early part of this, people were saying, okay, we don't know what this is all about, so, okay, we'll gladly volunteer and we'll not have service for a couple weeks, but, it went on and on. And so people started doing other things. They started going outdoors, and they started having drive-in services. And we saw some of these officials writing tickets for people in their cars in church parking lots. We saw people being arrested for wearing mask or not wearing mask outside at public gatherings. It was crazy. Well, now these things are going into court, and guess what's happening? Well, here to tell us what is happening is one of those individuals. Gabe Rench, he is a member of Christ Church in Moscow City, Iowa, and he was arrested for being a part of an outdoor worship service in a city hall parking lot because he wasn't wearing a mask. But he had his day in court. And here to tell us what happened is Gabe himself. Gabe, welcome back to the program.
Tony, thanks for having me back on. Appreciate it.
I should also mention that you're the co-host of CrossPolitic, a radio show there in Idaho. Okay, so what happened? Tell our listeners what happened when you went to court after you were arrested for not wearing a mask outside.
Yeah, so, I was arrested on September 23rd, as you already noted, we were singing psalms. My church and kind of the community, a couple other members from the community were also joined us, and we were singing psalms on the city hall parking lot without wearing masks and without social distancing, and we got arrested. So we were kind of embodying the whole First Amendment there with worship, petitioning, addressing, and, free speech kind of thing. And I got arrested. Well, of course, I was immediately going to challenge that in court. I had the Thomas More Society back me. My lawyer, Michael Jakes, here in Idaho, did a fantastic job. And basically, we just wrote a letter of dismissal, arguing our First Amendment rights and arguing even within their own health emergency resolution, it stated that our First Amendment rights were protected. And so we just used our First Amendment rights. We used our own resolution against them, and then the judge dismissed it. It took about 4 months to get it dismissed because the prosecuting attorney was playing politics and pushing things out, and she could have on her own dismissed it all by herself.
Right.
But because it was such a political hot potato, she wanted the judge to dismiss it.
Well, this is what I think about this, Gabe. First off, I want to, commend you for, moving forward through the system, doing this within the confines of law, because the law is on our side. You talk about the First Amendment. It's a robust freedom, a recognition, I should say, of that freedom. And when you use it like that all the way through, you make it harder for district attorneys and prosecutors elsewhere to bring these charges against churches and members of churches because they know it's not going to stand.
Well, that's my hope in all this. Is I hope, by the grace of God, that my victory here in the city of Moscow, Idaho, influences and affects John MacArthur and what's going on with his church in L.A. I hope that what we're doing here has greater ramifications than just my little dismissal in what's going on. We have, Paul appealed to the government. Paul appealed to Caesar. Paul appealed to his Roman rights as a citizen.
Right.
So we don't have a problem with that appeal, and we want to be faithful in every step of the way that God opens those doors to walk down.
Well, Gabe, we're grateful that you've done that, and I have no doubt that as more and more will stand in within the confines of the law, exercise their First Amendment, and if they're arrested, they face it, but they use the system, as you did, to prove that First Amendment right covers worship, it covers speech, it covers gathering, and Gabe, you did it the right way, and I'm very grateful for the outcome.
Well, thank you. And I just would like to, kind of leave here just encouraging Christians that whatever city you're in, wherever you're at, find churches that are being faithful and pushing back and doing it well in their communities. And don't fight solo. Don't try to pick a fight. Try to,
Yes.
act from a position of strength in a faithful church community with what you're doing, because God's granting us these victories.
Yes, well said. Well said. Gabe Rench, thanks so much for joining us today. Great to talk to you again.